Hello, welcome to Bike Talk. This is my first e-bike review on YouTube. This channel is mostly all about fountain pens, but I felt it would be good for people to see this bike, to hear my comments on it, and maybe it's something they have considered, would consider, and I think it's important to be an educated consumer and to be aware of the pluses and minuses when you make a purchase. And this is not an inexpensive purchase. The delivered price was $14.99, and that includes shipping. They did not charge any tax, which is unusual for buying from another state. It's shipped from California, and I live in New Jersey. I bought it on April 7th, and it arrived April 28th. So that was, I think, good. And that was one of the deciding factors on why I purchased a Black Leopard from HAOQI and did not buy one of the more popular brands that are around. And this bike had everything that I was looking for in a bike. It had a large battery, a 48 volt battery, 16 amp hour, that 750 watt motor, and 26-inch fat tires. I did consider 20-inch tires, but decided that I think 26 would be better for the type of riding that I want to do. And it included fenders, a rack, headlights and taillights. So I was happy with the total combination. The bike, I think, looks nice. I like the way it's sculpted. We're going to show it real time. The bike was delivered in a box. Here's what the box looked like. It was delivered by FedEx, and I got a nice email telling me that it's been delivered. I've been having a little bit of vision problems. I'd have laser surgery, so I really can't fully enjoy the bike yet, but I do think I can provide you with my views so far. This is my first Bike Talk video. Maybe my last, I haven't decided. But I feel motivated to share my experiences with the e-bike that I bought. I was just in the mood for something different, and being an engineer, the whole technology behind how this works just really caught my eye and attracted my attention. And I always enjoyed bicycles. I've owned a few motorcycles, so this is like a best of all worlds, because you have a motor driven, but it's also environmentally friendly as much as you can get. I do like the black stealthy look of the bike. I think they did an excellent job on that. There's a number of things that I would rather have improved, and we'll discuss those. The middle one turns it on and off. You can set your pedal assist. You hold this down, you go into some configuration settings. But if you hold the middle one and the top one down for 3 seconds, it's supposed to turn on the front light, but it doesn't. Not discussed in the manual or any place that I could find is there's a brake light that works quite well. I brought a light to fit onto the bike, which will pulse and also brake, so I'll have 2 brake lights. The seat's okay. I don't have any miles on it to really determine how well that's going to be comfortable with. Yeah, aesthetics aside, does the bike work and function? From an e-bike viewpoint, I love it. It rides well. The throttle is very easy to control. Pedal assist kicks in like a mule. Even on the number 1 setting, I can't imagine it on 5. But then this bike supposedly will do 28 miles an hour, so that's going to be something interesting. The gears are not what I'm familiar with. There's only 1 sprocket in the front and there's 7 in the back. The other thing that I found interesting is the designation on the motor. You know, it says it's 26-inch, 48 volt, but it says 1,000 watts, and then there's some serial number. So it advertises a 750, but that label obviously says it's 1,000. There's no mounting brackets on the front. Yeah, it's nice that they put their logo and their name there. The load adjustments, the lock and everything else works fine on the shocks. Again, we'll tell over time. I like the disc brakes quite a bit. They're very linear. They grab quite well. There's a designation on the shock. I'll need to look up and make certain I understand how it works. You know, there's Zoom disc brakes. You got a nice adjustment on the saddle, both front and back and up and down, which is standard. You know, there's your little label. It tells you a little bit about the bike, but not much. The pedals work fine. You know, one of the reasons why I bought it is it came with a rear rack, it came with fenders, it came with lights, and that's one of the things I wanted. Assembly was a challenge, and we're going to discuss that a little bit later. But I just wanted to share with you how the bike looks. I think the handlebars are in the perfect position. I feel very comfortable on it, and there's a fair amount of adjustment that I could do to, you know, manage the distance between the seat and the handlebars. The bike is easy to drive. I've only driven it in my yard so far. So now we're going to just digress a little bit and talk about putting this bike together and one challenge I had. Well, we're here in my garage, and my e-bike is upside down. I have a little stand that I learned about from Citizen Bike to be able to set it on the handlebars without causing any damage to the LCD display that's sitting in the middle. So I've assembled the bike as much as I can, and I watched the assembly video that they put out, and it says the rear tire is shipped without any air in it. So I had the bike upside down like this. I had to straighten out the valve stem because it had shifted quite a bit, so I was able to move the tire around and eventually get it to where I thought it was in the right position. And then I have an automatic inflator. It's a cordless device. You set the pressure and it slowly pumps up the tire. Doesn't put out a lot of air with each pump. But before it reached the 20 pounds I set it for, the tire blew. And it blew. And it knocked the tire off the rim, and so I need to replace that inner tube, but with an e-bike it's just not pop off the rear wheel. So I watched some videos about what you need to do, and the challenge is there's a power cable that goes into the axle that runs the motor. I need to take that off, and it's going to be a challenge. And I've never put together the Shimano gears after I've taken a rear wheel off, so that's going to be the other challenge. But I'm up for the challenge. We're going to start it. I'll add some video now and then if I reach a certain point in the disassembly that I feel it is worth adding. But I just wanted to show you the bike in the position of needing some repair. I have contacted them and they will send me a new inner tube, but the challenge is not the fact because I have an inner tube. I ordered one on Amazon, got it the next day, and I'm happy with it. But now let's see if we can get this bike on the road. So the first thing we need to do is discouple the power that goes to the motor. You can see how it goes in through the middle of the axle. There's also the wire for the rear light there, so we need to take off those two stays, disconnect it, take off the nuts. It's a Shimano Tournay. The wheel popped out easily once I unloosened everything, and the derailleur stays with the frame. So now we're going to try to put the tube in inflate it off the bike and then put it back on. Well, after removing the wheel and putting one bead of the tire in, I noticed this distortion in the tire, which I'm not comfortable with. I'm wondering if this tire may have been the reason for the inner tube to blow, because the tire didn't keep the inner tube contained, so it burst out. So I'm considering what I'm going to do, get a new tire, finding 26x4 fat tires. Well, I received the new tire, bought it on Amazon, and there were some comments that they didn't think it was a mongoose tire, but I have no reason to doubt it. But when I now compare that to the tire that's in here, they all have a little bit of a distortion. This obviously has much more. So we're going to take the tire off of this rim, put on the new one, and I have the new tube slightly inflated. One of the YouTube videos I said says it's easier to put together with a little bit of air in the inner tube, and it's probably correct. So hopefully the next time I'm back on the video, I'll have the new tire installed. Going to inflate it to 10 pounds. It has the same 20-pound maximum that the original tire did, so 10 pounds is what we'll start with. While we're pumping it up with my small inflatable. It shut off at 10 pounds, which is what I expected. Tire looks good. So we're going to double check the pressure with a pressure gauge that I have. Then we're going to reassemble, and maybe I'll get to ride today. While I have the tire off, we're going to take a look at one of the things that I think should be addressed. Is these screws protrude, and if that fender gets off, they could, I think, puncture the tire. Don't know whether that's common with other e-bikes, but certainly with this one. Yeah, here we have a nice clean nut holding everything together. The bike is painted well. The cable management and wire management is pretty good, pretty secure. And there's this tube here that's structural. You can see its welds. And that also forms where the battery is going to go. And we talked about those screws that hold down the fender. It took me a while to get that fender lined up correctly with the wheel. It was easy to put it in where the brake is, and it does spin freely, and we hear very, very faint rubbing, but these are brand new brakes, so that's not unexpected, and it runs pretty true. There is a nice rear light, which you need to remove those stays and then screw it in place. We're going to do that now. We're going to close with some editorial comment as we watch the GoPro video of my first ride that I photographed. E-bikes are a new market. They're a growing market. They're an expanding market. Apparently all the bikes, I think, are made in China. At least the majority of the parts are made there. I think HAOQI is a marketing company based in China that's decided to brand some e-bikes and ship them over to the United States. They have a warehouse in California. A lot of the companies do have facilities in the States, but support is out of China, at least at this present time. So if you're considering an e-bike, or if you're interested in them, please do research. Please understand that it's an educated consumer. You need to study. And I'm familiar with bicycles and motorcycles, and so this kind of was a little bit easy once I learned the nuances and the differences. It is a blast to ride, and that's really why I bought it. And I enjoy having a bike that nobody's heard of, and there's just been one video so far on YouTube by Bolton. I'll put a link in the description. Not certainly a video that I learned much from, but it was still interesting. So hopefully this video finds you safe, healthy, and happy, enjoying every day, enjoying all that you do, and if it includes biking of any form. And if you are considering an e-bike, hopefully I've given you some information and some perspective that might help you make that decision. And that's really why I do these videos, and I also enjoy doing the videos. So we're going to say bye. Hopefully in another week or two you'll be able to see more riding, and I'll discuss how the bike has grown on me over time. So until then, enjoy your life. Bye. Hello, welcome back to my second bike talk, and we're going to be riding around the yard. Sorry there's no other riding footage. I'm still recovering my vision, so until that's 100%, we'll be in my yard. This video we're going to look at some of the features of the bike. I've accessorized the bike, as you can see here. I have the GoPro camera strapped to my chest to give you a view from that angle. I kind of like it. I may do that when I'm out riding, who knows, or I may still be on the handlebar. I've started to accessorize the bike. Put on a rear view mirror. The bike came with this mechanical bell. Then I got this G-mount. Again, I watch a lot of videos, and I wanted to be able to use my cell phone with the bike, so this is a unbelievably well-designed piece of equipment, and we'll see it in action shortly. I moved the GoPro mount over here to the right side because I wanted the phone here, and the GoPro would have been too busy on this side, at least in my view. I've adjusted the brakes. I've also tried to make certain those handlebars are aligned and straight relative to the wheel. Watched a video on that. So that's where we're at. I still enjoy the bike in my yard. My eye has not recovered enough for that to be something I'm going to be doing out on the street or on the trails. You may ask, if the GoPro's not on the handlebars, where is it? And we're going to say the GoPro is mounted on my chest. We're going to explore the LCD controller. You know, there's 3 buttons, up arrow, an M, and a down arrow. You hold the M down for 3 seconds and the LCD comes on. I'm in a darkened shed, so that's going to make things easier to see. The up arrow changes the pedal assist level, and we have 0 through 5. The down arrow goes down, and you can go down to 0. If you hold the up arrow down, the front headlight comes on. Something that wasn't mentioned in the documentation, but was mentioned in the manual on this LCD display, and you'll see here icon is on the LED. But no tail light, because I moved the bike. That LCD light is sensitive. You can see how that LCD brightness changes. 2 looks good. You hit the M button, the middle button, and it goes to the next one. And here it's either in miles or kilometer. You can see how it changes. You hit the M button again to save any changes and to move on to the next one. So PO3 is the working voltage, and that's 48. PO4 is auto shutdown, which is 4 minutes. So that's when the bike is stationary and you haven't used the M button to turn it off. PO5 is the pedal assist setting, which is now on 1, which means pedal assist goes from 0 through 5. I set it to 2, and as you can see, it got out of configuration mode. I set it to 2 because I wanted to see how 0 through 9 would work, which is what you get with 2. And the throttle was inconsistent. I didn't like the way that it worked at all. It didn't like that setting, so I went back to 1, which is 0 to 5. And there's also a 0 setting, which is 0 to 3. 6 is wheel diameter, which is 26 inches. When I first got it, that was 20 inches, and therefore the speedometer was off by 30%. I wish there was a way of staying in programming mode for longer. Seven is speed monitoring. They say don't change it. I think some of these settings have to do with how many magnets are in the pedal assist. You know, 8 is speed limit in kilometers. I got it set to 60. You can set it to 100 for max. A lot of people do that. PO9 is 0 or non-zero boost. It's either 0 or 1. It's set at 0, meaning it's instant start. 10 is how the power assist works. It's a setting through 0 through 2. 0 is pedal assist only, 1 is throttle only, and 2 is both, which is what I have it set at and what I'd like. 11 is pedal assist sensitivity. They're saying don't change it. It's set to 3. 12 is pedal assist strength. It goes from 1 to 5, and that's set at 3. Again, the manual says don't change. Pedal assist 13 is how many magnets are in there. It's set at 12, which is the maximum value. Don't change it. This is maximum current. Not certain exactly what that means, but it's set at 13. 15 is low voltage, which I'm assuming if it gets below 39 volts, maybe the controller shuts off the motor. 16 clears the odometer. 17 again is an NV range. 100's a default, that's what it's set at. They say don't change. And 18 is what you use to reset the parameters back to their default. And then you go back to 1. So hopefully that was interesting. Those of you that may have this bike and like to know how to work the LCD controller. Hold down the M button for 3 seconds. The LCD light comes on. And it comes up with just speed in miles per hour and then the odometer. If you press M, you'll see that goes to time. Then it goes to something else. There's a trip odometer. There's the regular odometer. Don't know why it's still at 0. And there's the time. So there's, and that one, on the Crusher one, that could be the error thing, but there's no error ERR that should show up on the display. So that's how that works. If you hold the up arrow and hit the M button, well, supposedly if you hold down the M button and press the up arrow, it's supposed to change the speed, but of course I just turned it off. And it was doing that at one time, so it should do your regular speed, and then it should have average speed, max speed, but for some reason it's not changing, no matter what I try to do. There's max. Okay, you got to hold them down for a while. There's average, max, average, and then real speed. So you need to hold down the top button and the middle button for a couple of seconds before that starts changing. It's just getting used to these controls. You got 3 buttons that do a lot of different things. Hopefully you're enjoying using your bike. There are 2 apps which I got for my iPhone. It's an iPhone 6 and both of them run. I do have a challenge now. A lot of apps won't run on that old version of iOS, which is the latest one that can run on the 6, but I'm not ready to upgrade. I saw Citizen Bike use it, and when I was watching the miles per hour on the phone versus the miles per hour on the speedometer on the bike, I noticed that the bike was much lower, and that's what prompted me to learn how to do programming so I could change the wheel size. So now the speedometers are pretty much in sync. They work on different things. So the speedometer in the phone works on GPS coordinates, so you need to go a certain distance and then it calculates the time that you traveled that distance. The speedometer is a typical speed sensor somewhere on the bike on one of the wheels, and so that's a little bit more, it reacts a little bit more quickly than the miles per hour app on the phone. But the miles per hour app also gives you a lot of analysis, and you can take a look at your trip and, you know, get max speeds and average speeds and all those other things that you can only display one of those, and it doesn't record them on the bike speedometer. The next app that I got was called GPS Track, and I'll put a link if I can find it up in the description. So this app is an app that I got for basically hiking trails, and I just learned about it less than a week ago. It's a great app. Here's where it tracked my driving around the pool in the backyard. As you can see, it maps your travel over top of satellite imagery, which I'm assuming comes from Google. And it also records a ton of information, so you can get altitude. So if you're climbing up a hill or going down a hill, or if you think that the path that you're on is flat, it'll tell you that, and it shows you that for the length of the trip. For both the MPH and the Tracks app, you got to start your recordings, and then when you're done, save them and you give them a name, so when you look at them later, you know what they are. So those two apps I think will be extremely good as I continue to evaluate the bike and look at it, and hopefully can provide you with some videos of my explorations around the town. So that's the end of this video. Hopefully you've enjoyed video number 2, and I am technical in my approach to items and share them with you, and I also like to dive in deep and understand how things work, and there's a lot more on this bike that I'm not that aware of, but hopefully over time I will be, and if I feel it's worthy of it, I'll share with you. So hopefully you're enjoying your mode of transportation. Hopefully it's as green as you can be. We're going to say thank you for watching. We're going to say bye until the next bike video.